I don't like this guy. Only because I like her more. So the fact he's pissing her off is just pissing me off.
But she's being a little petulant too. It's like,
she's always petulant.
Yeah, where's the captain?
Because he's being insubordinate. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Stoneface Reactions. I'm Theta, this is Lessons, and we are back with another episode of Mobile Suit Gundam IGLOO. I guess we're out of the Hidden 1 Year War, and now we are starting Apocalypse 79. If you were not aware, this is part of our Universal Century watch-through. So we've already done, by this time, Origin, OG Original, 1979 version, Doan's Island, the compilation movies. So yeah, and then of course we just did the Hidden 1 Year War. So this is a part of the long project, and God forbid when we get to the final end and I have to list everything that we've watched so far for the first time viewer. But yeah, no, of course, we've got a board, I've got notes, but this time actually we come back with a comment. We have Necromancer 1983X from YouTube, from the episode Mobile Suit Gundam Across the Atlantic Ocean. Another episode with a more generic localized title. Across the Atlantic Ocean could be fun/mysterious episode. The Atlantic Ocean stained with blood. Well, shit.
Yeah, I read that comment. It makes sense, especially in context when you watch the episode. It's like, yeah, this is gonna be a doozy. And it turns out that it was a doozy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. You want to be mysterious with the episode titles. Well, I want you to be mysterious with the episode titles. Clearly, the next time on narrator doesn't give a shit what you expect from the next episode, so I guess there's a conflict of interest. Not conflict of interest, it's just a dissonance was the word I was trying to shoot for there. A dissonance in expectations. But as Necromancer here is implying, it's localization and not even the actual episode title. I don't know what the actual episode title is, so I mean, if it's not Across the Atlantic Ocean, then I don't know what it actually is.
No, I think he's implying that the second title he gave is an accurate translation of the original title.
See, I don't know that, though. That's what I'm saying, is I don't know what it actually is. My interpretation of the comment was, you could have written it better, here's an example. So as far as I know, that's just an example of a better written title. See, here's the difference in ways to read things, right? I think that Necromancer is being clever and has given us their interpretation of a thing. You think they know the Japanese language, or Gundam, I guess, better, and are saying what it is. You think he's more informed. You think they are more informed. I think they're clever. It's a different interpretation of literally 20 words.
Yeah. I would say let us know in the comments, but by the time you get to this episode, we've probably forgotten all about that comment, so it doesn't really matter.
Also, we might interpret that comment differently.
Yeah.
As per. Alright, going to the board then. I, of course, also have the board changelog, which is to say I added the 12 characters from IGLOO, the Hidden 1 Year War, to the board. I also, if you want to scroll over here to the 1979 board, I forgot to tie her to anybody. I added Cecilia Irene. I have the note here that I connected her with a green line to Giran Zabi. I have yet to do that, but thankfully this board changelog also exists to remind me to do things I haven't yet done. Like, conceivably, Darcira Bakarov over here should also be tied to Degwin Zabi, but I forgot to do that too. Yeah, if you don't remember the woman from the...
that was there, but we never get an idea of what the relationship, other than she's an aide, perhaps?
I'll go into that more when I get into my notes, because this covers a facet of something that I had to discover outside of the show itself in order to understand what was going on. But I mean, we very did specifically ask during the episode who she was, because she seemed important to the scene, and yet was given no information about her, but apparently that information then comes from like novelization. Apparently people got added to the movie that were in the novels or manga or whatever.
Yeah.
It's either that or the other way around. Either that or they were added to the movie and then they were made important by novels or manga.
Yeah. We put in Girin in the Grand Sabi. And
well, originally that's not it's not the Great Degwin. It's not the Great Degwin, is what I said. There was actually 2 of those ships present at the Battle of Loom in this little Hidden 1 Year War. So I think the implication is not the Great Degwin. Because originally I was just going to tie Cadillac up here all the way across one board to another to Girin. And then I decided, I don't know if I want to set that precedent just yet to do the Macross thing that we do on the Macross board, which is to tie boards together. So I decided, well, if the implication is that's Girin in that ship, which is heavily implied in the episode, then I'll just do the same thing I'm doing with Char, in that it's clearly Char in there, so I'll just take Char and then Girin, and I'll associate with how they need to be associated.
Yeah. Char doesn't talk in this in IGLOO, does he? He just shows up, flashes his eye, and
same thing that Girin does.
Yeah.
Well, technically, I would assume it's not Girin doing that. Girin, it's probably like a PR officer for Girin. Girin didn't probably say any damn thing. Girin's probably just sitting in a thing doing like this, and then somebody's like, tell them something.
Cadillac, Monique Cadillac. That's an interesting name.
It's one of my favorite characters now.
Yeah.
I should say this. I know we're in the board segment, so people who like skip the board aren't going to miss this, but there is an element of the Hidden 1 Year War, or I guess maybe even the whole of Mobile Suit Igloo. I don't know what the next 3 things are going to be like. But that I think escaped me while I was watching it the first time. Because the first time I'm watching it, I'm obviously just taking things in on face value and like the new art style or CGI style as it was, and just blatant commentary about things that are happening at the same time as things are happening here. I don't think I got notes about this in the future, but not really appreciating the subtext of IGLOO, which is to say, what do you do with the people that you've thrown away? And the element of those people that got thrown away getting a chance in a pseudo-historical narrative to, I don't know, not even experience things again, but to show off their skills. Because, first episode, it was gunners. Second episode, it was tank operators. And I say pseudo-historical in that way of, like, this is supposed to be modeled after Germany, late in the war. But there's also that element of there's reports about Russian tanks on the front lines being taken from museums. So it's not for nothing a repeating historical narrative. So, like I said, there is many layers to Mobile Suit IGLOO that I appreciated more on the second rewatch when I was taking my notes.
Yeah.
That I was surprised to see that I hadn't noticed the first time. Which is why I think it's very, I don't know if it's important. I appreciate the element of the way that we do things on the channel to watch a second time and take notes. Because it's very easy to be blasé and I'm going to make jokes all the way through, But then try to take it seriously and you take notes and you realize, oh, I missed that. I was talking to Lessons. I just fucking missed this whole subtext.
Yeah, I mean, IGLOO is one of the interesting things because it gets derided by CGI, one thing. And it's easy to dismiss as just like a bunch of, like a random collection of vignettes. But it does really give, the events of the 1 Year War a lot of depth, right?
Sorry, I was just thinking back to a previous recording that we did the other day, how much you hate vignettes.
Yeah, true. I mean, depending on the context, I suppose. I don't hate them. It's just not my favorite thing. But here we get to see, at least we've seen from the Xeon side, the kind of depth that, once you It's basically the water cooler kind of approach to things. Like, lower decks, water cooler. What's happening with other people? How are they experiencing the war? Because it's very easy to Char and the Sabis and Amuro. It's like, oh, these are the important people, right? Because the narrative says so. And then you have these other folks like in the first episode, they didn't really contribute anything, but for them it was very important what they were trying to do. But at the end of the day, it was like, oh, did that happen? Oh, okay, never mind. They got overshadowed, so it's like. But we get a sense of what's going on.
Sorry, I didn't mean to like pause there. It's just I was thinking of something and I couldn't remember what I was thinking of because you said they didn't really contribute to anything, and I was thinking back to the whole of the first episode. Like, I want to argue with you, but you're right. So no, it's just the thing I was talking about before is that why I tend to side with the villains in shows is because the villains have a more interesting story. Like, when we look back at the Zeon soldiers, like, we focus on them, we know they're not going to win. We know that they're fighting a losing battle. And also, since we started with Origin, we know that the original factors of why they're fighting are valid. It's not like... Sorry, not to always lean back into horrible real history. It's not like the Civil War shit where, like, we're fighting to defend slavery, you know? And then we had to, like, politicize it after the fact, because, of course, who would fight to defend slavery? You know? We know that these people were put down, and then they rose up for their own independence, and then did horrible shit later, that even though when we get later viewpoints, like, even in here, we see Operation British go flying past them, and then you have, like, a little breakdown, like, what the fuck? This is not the way war is meant to be fought. And then we forget about it later because we just got to keep going. Because again, our motivations are true for a good reason. Just kind of have to forget that thing our leaders made us do. But yeah, like I said, it is better for me to see the villain side because again, at the end of the day, the villains have no narrative plot armor to survive. So the more developed they get, like, oh, you have a family, he's going back to this little girl, this is the plans we had after the war. That shit might never come to pass. This is tragedy in the making. That's why it's so much better to see the villain side of things. Depending on the depth of the story. Obviously, if this is just like, what's Frieza up to today? He's like, who fucking cares?
He's like, flipping, pancakes. I'm like, okay, who cares?
Well, no, that's the Frieza's so mustache-twirling, racist, evil. It's who cares? The question that came to my mind once is that, Frieza's whole empire is built on conquering and then selling planets, right? Who's he sell planets to? If who's somebody who's powerful enough to buy planets from Frieza, wouldn't Frieza just conquer them already? It's weird to think of Frieza as an economic empire because it's based on military strength. It's just like, who does he sell planets to that he wouldn't then conquer and just take what they have? The folly of going to Frieza to buy a planet makes you a target.
Oh, you have money. Oh, okay. That's a good reason to invade you. Put it on the list.
Anyway, I mean, that's a bit off topic, but it's still the idea of it. I would be interested in seeing a day-to-day, what the fuck does Giran do, right? We know what he's doing when he's like being like, yeah. But it's like, we know that he has a number of like attractive female assistants. Does that mean that he goes to like a thing every so often, like her, pass, her? Like, what does he get up to on his off time when he's not like playing Go against an AI computer or staring at monitors at a battle that's happening? What does Giran get up to? Giran, by the way, we know Giran is like, oh, Hitler, that's a cool guy. We also know he doesn't study history. He had to get told about Hitler before he figured out who Hitler was. So what is Giran doing in his off time?
We know his sister sleeps in the nude. That's a thing we know.
Well, she used to. I don't know that she still does.
Well,
those were the younger days.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, there's a lot of interesting shit. There's a lot of established characters that we could spend some time with. Giran's not a cool dude. I'm not like, I don't want to like Giran around, but at the same time, what does he do with his time? Like, we know Dozel spends time with his family when he can. Apparently, he also must spend time with the soldiers. They love him that much.
Yeah.
I can imagine what Dozel gets up to. Garma, we saw most of what Garma's spare time was like. Kycelia would be interesting too, because she's like a intelligence operative. Yeah, so it's like, does she like spend most of her time dressed up as somebody else just to have some like free time as a person? Like, what does she do?
Planning the next car bomb. Like,
I don't know. But although all of that early shit seems unplanned, you know, just like got slapped in the face, blood trickling down the mouth, like, well, we got to go to that funeral tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's not directly planned, because otherwise I think that was happening a long time.
Yeah. Why don't we make that a double funeral?
All right. Anyway, that was the board. Do you have anything else to say about the board?
No.
Well, then otherwise, I do actually have quite a bit of notes. I really like the concept behind the 603rd Technical Evaluation Unit, and as I said, I have no real problem with them showing up in a CGI show, as it was done fine in my eyes. I really wish they had gotten their own animated series at the same time. I feel like putting them in the CGI show has made them pariahs that no one would want to revisit. Following a Xeon R&D test unit around from the start of the 1 Year War to the end of it has such a just a badass concept. I mean, the History Channel made bank off the concept of German superweapons from World War II. Since we are watching the series in chronological order, we've gotten to see just how on weapons platforms testing and development Xeon has been from the OG series alone. There is so much you could do with a show that focuses on just that, especially with 46 years of Universal Century releases to work with. Hell, you could fold that manga that I said I'd love to see animated into this developers just as well.
Yeah, again, it's a good behind the scenes kind of thing, and it fits, like I said, with Xeon's obsession with more and more powerful secret weapons, right? Which most of them, some of them work, some of them don't. Some of them work, but they're not very practical, right? Because having a big gun that can one shot a ship, it's pretty cool idea. If it hits, you know, or a tank that can take on mobile suits. Yeah, but mostly probably a very expensive tank too. Is it a cheaper tank? Is it a more expensive? Actually, it was a mobile suit, a mobile armor itself. So it wasn't just a tank.
The Hildolfer was essentially a gun tank.
Yeah, gun tank. Yeah, but better.
Well, depends on what you want it for. Again, it is a more specialized gun tank, I think. Well, because a gun tank doesn't have hands. A gun tank has guns. But this has hands that can pick up guns, so...
Yeah.
It also technically doesn't have a head. The gun tank has a head. This has a tank cannon.
No, actually it has a head underneath the tank cannon.
No, that's not... That's a mounting for the tank cannon. It doesn't have a head. It has the body, and it has a tank cannon. It's, Gunhead, that animated... I can't remember what the anime is called. I think it's called Gunhead. Where the guy's head is it's a gun, but it doesn't actually have a head. It's just a gun.
No, but where it was like a face head thing, because that's where Castellano was. Yeah, Castellano punched him and shoved the gun into it and started shooting, and thought that it had killed him. You know. Yeah, it's like a visor thing. There was a gun, and then underneath that there was like a head or some sort, like a visor or some sort.
I know what you're saying. I just dispute that it was a head. Although I will say, it's not in my notes here, but you were right about the Jorgamon. I know I've heard it before, but for some reason my brain is incapable.
Jorgamander?
Jorgamon.
That's yeah.
The cannon. The cannon was exposed to space. That's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing.
Because while rewatching it, the scene I was talking about, they have a room around them, and then no ceiling. There's no ceiling.
Yeah.
So when they get hit, and we're having that dispute about they've been exposed to space this whole time, I'm like, no, they're not. Well, it's confusing because they're in a room. They have what? 5 out of 6 parts to make them sealed.
Yeah.
Anyway, next note. I think it's pretty clear that the QCX-76A Jormund had no place in a post-mobile suit world, but I'd also argue that it likely had little place in its contemporary environment. It was an oversized anti-ship weapon that required a series of support craft in order to operate. We establish in the episode that it is a one-shot, one-kill system. You know what else effectively kills a ship in one hit? Can you guess what I put down?
A bazooka?
I don't think that's true, actually. I don't think it was... Well, maybe it was a mobile suit-mounted bazooka, but that wouldn't be the argument I'm making with the setup that I've already established.
A nuke?
True, but that feels like more of a Gundam Seed thing.
So I don't know what.
Well, the answer was another ship. Or other ships. We see it all the time in the fleet battles. The most likely thing to happen when getting hit in combat is destruction. The fact that the Jormund is immobile once deployed requires a ship to carry it and a ship to send it telemetry, while appearing to still have to be within some proximity to the battle it needs to take place in. It's just a sitting duck. As an example, it is stated to have an effective range of 300 kilometers. That means if it were sitting on the surface of the Earth, the International Space Station would be out of its reach.
No. 300,000 kilometers?
300 kilometers.
Oh, 300. Okay. Because, yeah, that's different.
No, I did the math. I also researched other things. Like, it could shoot low-orbit satellites. It could shoot medium-orbit satellites. High-orbit satellites would be out of its range. I couldn't think of any other way to express its range in a way that would make it seem bad. I know it seems like I'm trying to make it look bad, but at the same time, that's not pretty far in the scope of space combat.
Yeah.
We couldn't shoot it from the ground. Isn't great. I'm pretty sure most... I don't know. I'm just saying that my point being that in its contemporary environment of space combat, even if mobile suits weren't a thing, it wouldn't be good. I suppose there is something in the fact that Zeon drafted an old, slow-moving passenger transport as the carrier for all its experimental weaponry for the 603. One might even think that this weapons project was being held back by something. Almost as if 2 of the Zeon... sorry, I said Zeon for some reason. Almost as if 2 of the Zabi family heads were invested in the mobile suit project directly or something, and weren't interested in wasting resources on non-mobile suit or mobile armor development. Albert likens the whole operation to a witch's brew. The ship is operated by the military, with the Tactical Intelligence Division, and the Technical Evaluation Division. The rumor is also that Cadillac is also there under orders of the Commander-in-Chief.
Would that be Garen, or would that be... I guess Garen, right?
At least you had the same debate that I also had, because I also had written out something in here that I thought that might be Degwin, because this takes place in January. And there's this whole thing that I had in my head about the element of the fact that the Zabi kids give themselves more and more grandiose titles as the war goes on. So by January, I didn't think that they would have those grandiose titles. They'd still be like admirals and generals and whatnot. Well, in other research that I had to do to clarify a different point, Giran is commander-in-chief. Because Degwin is sovereign. Always is sovereign. Never is nothing else but the sovereign.
Yeah, figurehead.
Right. So Giran is the one raising up the ranks, starting with the title of commander-in-chief. That's why he is on the board. I'm pointing at the board, even though the board's probably not in the overlay anymore, but in that image of the ship. Because that is literally first episode image. Not sure if we've guessed before about the size of Island Ifish's population. Before I continue, want to make a guess? Just in case we haven't guessed.
I think in Origins we're told it was 1.1 million, 1.2 million people.
You were way off. You are way
10
off.
million.
I mean, I'm saying this with future knowledge because I have it written in my note here, obviously, but I'm saying you're way off.
10 million?
Oh, you're still, I think, numbers-wise, you're still way off.
Well, how much?
Double.
20 million people?
Yep. All right, I'll continue now that you know.
Okay.
I know I've heard others make guesses based on a statement made in Origin, ironic, where it's said that Zeon has over 150 million people, but those people also forget to spread that population out across multiple Banchai and just assume that Munzo alone has that many people. Well, Oliver suggests that Island Ifish must have about 20 million people in it, though we know that they've been dead for at least 3 days now. Sorry, going math here. Cadillac says it'll hit Earth in 72 hours. That's 3 days. We know it hits on the 16th, so she must say that on the 13th, meaning that they've been traveling for 3 days now at least. Either way, that would suggest that if Zeon has a comparable population to the other sides and an equal spread, then there must be about 6 to 7 Banchai around side 3.
Yeah, to make the 160?
50.
Million?
I know, for some reason I said over 150 million, but literally they only say 150 million.
Yeah, 150,000, 150 divided by 20. Yeah, makes sense.
Well, I don't know why I said 6 to 7. I should have said 7 to 8. Because that would be 140 to 160.
60, yeah. You don't get exactly 150. Unless there's
half a Banchai.
Half a Banchai.
Or a heavily overpopulated or a heavily underpopulated Banchai. I don't know. I'm just saying, if the 20 million is the average number of people that live in a Banchai, then we can make guesses about how many sides, or I mean, how many Banchai there are around side 3.
Also, it takes if those other Banshee who were destroyed during the war were not fully evacuated, we're talking about another 100 million or more.
Well, that's a different discussion about how many people Zeon killed, because we know how many sides are empty now.
Yeah.
Because I also have that lower down in my notes, not in this note section, but my little what's happened in the timeline note section. What we know about the different sides as per Mobile Suit Gundam 79, anyway, which ones are still alive. That if you think 150 million people, well, also you can make that guess based on how many people died in Island Ifish itself, because they say half the Earth's population, or so they say half the population of humanity. So which I guess somebody could do the math if they wanted about how many people live in space versus how many people live on Earth. And then the population of the Earth post and pre Operation British based on just literally the number of 150 million.
So about 4.5 to 4.6 billion people killed.
Of course, though, that assumes that Side 3 has the same general population that all the other sides have. Like if Side 3 was like a medium-sized population center, and then like Side 6 is like way more populated, that throws all the figures out of whack.
I mean, we have the Texas Banchai who didn't appear to be that heavily populated. We didn't see any major cities, but then again, we just saw one resort. So,
well, yeah, because it was technically still under for some reason I'm going to say under consideration. That's not the right word. Under construction. I mean, it's not like under construction like Side 7 was under construction, but under construction, the fact they said, hey, we're still building it, and then we stopped, and then I bought it, and then... So it was a lot of back and forth on that. I never considered it before, since it's been a long time since Origin, but Loom involved Zeon fleets hidden around Luna 2. That was at the start of the war. When the Earth Federation gathered for their final assault push on Zeon, they sent their fleets to Luna 2. Kind of a year-long mirror of events.
Which is interesting because both sides had facilities at Luna 2. Orange, because that's... Yeah, remember... Well, actually, yeah.
You're not thinking about Luna when I'm talking about Luna 2, are you? Because Luna 2 was just a mining asteroid used for resources to develop Side 7. There was no Zeon facilities on Luna 2.
But the facility that Char attacks, because that
was an Earth Federation facility.
Yeah, that was on Luna 2.
Yeah, but there was no Zeon facility on Luna 2.
Yeah, no. So why would if the Earth Federation had a base there with ships who were still intact, how did the
well, I'm assuming it was a construction. See, we don't see Luna 2 again until the war started and everything. So I'm assuming that it went from a mining construction facility to a staffed military base. It made a transition. And it wasn't that when they went there. It was just a location in space.
So it was never really... I guess it can be used as a rendezvous point close to Luna 2, but Zeon never took over Luna 2. It was always under the control of their Federation. You know.
Well, I mean, it was probably controlled by some sort of mining conglomerate or a corporation before.
Yeah.
And then got...
commandeered?
It's not the word I was looking for. When you own property, but the government needs it to, make a...
Eminent domain.
It's not the word I was looking for either. There's another, a single word for it. Eminent domain is the thing that you use to take the property. But I'm not talking about that. Never mind.
Repossession?
I feel like I was getting close, and now I'm just further away. You said eminent domain.
It's a repossession.
It's
a repossession.
It's not the word. No. I can't think of it. Anymore. You said eminent domain. It was so close to the thing I was thinking of, but far enough away from the actual word that I can't get there anymore. Because my mind just went, eminent domain, that is the thing.
Possession.
It's probably it. It's not the word I was looking for. It's closer to that in meaning. They probably seized it. Apparently, Monique Cadillac's uniform matches Cecilia Irene's from the third compilation movie of the OG Mobile Suit Gundam, implying that they serve the same service. That would make sense since Giran is the commander-in-chief, so both of these women would be under his direct command. The symbol on her uniform that the camera lingers on is the mark of that group. I guess I'll send you an image. Because I'm eventually going to probably put it on the overlay at some point. Also of note is the fact that the ship we thought was the Great Degwin must not be, as she implies that the commander is on it, meaning that Giran was at Loom.
See, I was confusing him for Dolsa, who is the commander of the fleet. He says the admiral commands.
Yeah, but during the first few months, he's just an admiral.
Yeah. So.
But yeah, that symbol apparently has some meaning about a P and a key or something is what that is supposed to imply. I don't know. I spent time looking at Norse runes and shit, trying to make it out. And it does match some Norse runes, but specifically not so much the crook that they make to try and make it look like a P. Because, the 7 sort of thing is backward 7 is a Norse rune. The thing coming down with the double lines coming out of it on the bottom is also a Norse rune. But this thing changes enough of those to make it its own thing. Looking at the map of occupied Earth territory in Episode 2, it's funny to consider how much the occupation territory changes in 5 to 6 months. They obviously don't meet their goal of taking over the entire Earth by August, but according to information we had talked about before, they obviously do quite some work towards it. They go from most of North America to all of it, from say a third of Eurasia to 2/3 of it, and that's mostly it. The other places that held territory in stays about the same amount, even as the exact locations change.
I mean, I think it's a function of, initial shock and awe of the invasion, and then capitalizing about that, and then eventually the Federation, especially when they get GMs, are able to strike back again, and then stabilize the front and then push the back. So
I mean, it's a massive failure if you think about it. Like,
ultimately,
how much better of a setup position could you have that you've literally just decimated the Earth, killing half the population, destroying entire swaths of the country. People are starving to death in the streets. People are dying of disease. Like, there is no... How much weaker did you need them to be? And then, as you said, shock and awed your way in to the global space drop. At the people at their weakest, literally had it served to you on a platter.
Yeah, but here's the thing. It's, especially in modern military operations, the most difficult thing to do is the follow-up, right? You can surprise an enemy. You can push him against the wall. But if you can't sustain that tempo, right, and you let the other side recover, because, yes, they lost half the population, but the other half of the population is another 4 or some billion people, right? And people who are desperate, people who are angry, you can recruit. Like, oh, these people.
You're pointing out 4 or so billion people. Sure. Not all of them are in the military. I'm just saying that.
No, but you have a huge.
They're disparate. They're disparate. They're not all aligned to each other, and also, again, they're having to take care of all of the dead and all of the infrastructure breakdown. There is so much that they have to rebuild to be able to then stand up to fight against you, that you can still take that time to prevent their efforts to rebuild to fight you.
It depends on. I think this is the part where.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Before we get into too deep of an argument about this, is that despite what you're saying, I think I'm still right about the element of this is them at their weakest. Now, whatever you're saying about them being able to fight you and you're not being able to take full advantage of shock and awe because it doesn't last for very long in modern military tactics, that can also be true. The two things, these aren't two disparate arguments. Your thing can be true, and my thing can also be true. They can be at their weakest, and all of these other elements could still be at play that you could not take full advantage.
Yeah, I think that's, and like I was saying, I think that the difference in populations between the Earth Federation and Zeon ultimately play a huge role, right? But yeah, you can lose a lot of troops. If you can keep fighting and the other side cannot reinforce with more people, even if you have mobile suits, eventually it's like at least you get a draw because you can just send bodies into the meat grinder while the other side can't do that, right? And then you build your military behind the wall of bodies that you're sending, holding the enemy and exhausting themselves. And then you're like, oh, we're back.
Well, I mean, this comes into play why Degwin was the better leader. Degwin wanted to make peace. He wanted to make peace when they were winning and when they were at their strongest. And Girin's like, no, we should call for peace when we're at our best, when they are at their end. Like, we're going to fight this to the end, then we'll call peace. And Degwin was like, Degwin was always calling for peace. Degwin always didn't want to fight this war. But if they called for peace when Degwin wanted to, Zeon would have been... so much of the history. Think about how the history would have changed. Like, ultimately, they still kind of would be responsible for Island Ifish. There's no getting past that. They did that real early.
I think I think I argued this before. They might have gotten an armistice and even a few years of peace, but eventually, I think that resentment, like we talk about right. But I
don't think the resentment would come into play in a. Okay, think about Gundam Seed as you just brought up, right? The resentment comes into play in marginalized groups, factions form, right? It's not the entirety of the Earth rising up to fight you now. Now you're probably going to have, like, low-skill insurgencies, terrorist organizations appear on Munzo, that sort of shit, which is completely a different fight than the one of the entirety of the Earth has risen up against you, and now they're pushing you back to Munzo. Granted, people would probably rather fight that fight than God damn it, they bombed Munzo again. It's harder to fight a localized insurgency than the fleet of warships you can see coming your way. You're never going to know if you've defeated the terrorists. So I was obviously wrong about the size of the dropships we saw in orbit during episode 3. I only just recognized that our main ship was loaded with them in episode 2. For some reason, when I saw them floating around in space in the last episode, their scale seemed so much larger that it seemed inconceivable. I suppose what really was going on is that our ship seemed so much smaller when we show it on screen, and it turns out it's just massive. For comparison, we see the ship drop pods in stacks of 12. A Zaku is about 9.2 meters wide, but we know the drop pods are wider than a Zaku. In episode 3, we see a pod open and a Zaku standing inside of it. Using that Zaku's width as a measure, we can say that the pods are about 18.5 meters wide, at their widest on the bottom, but since we are considering them stacked pre-drop, they are stacked widest point to widest point anyway. That means at minimum, the drop bay of the Jotunheim is 222 meters, plus outer hull. Sorry, I wrote the word hull, H-A-L-L, but I clearly meant H-U-L-L. The outer hull, extra storage space to move stuff around, this gear, and etc. Just to check myself, I looked at the Jotunheim's listed height, and it says 292.7 meters. So I wasn't that far off. Some people would say 70 meters is pretty far off, but I just mean in the scope, I'm not that far off. Like I said, on first appearance, it's janky description. I thought this thing was just a small old transport.
I mean, it would be, but and also it carried mobile suits. It carried that big gun. So yeah.
Well, there's a difference between carrying one mobile suit and. God, I don't have the screenshot anymore. The thing is, you're saying this thing carried some mobile suits. Sure, I could think of a small transport carrying a mobile suit. This thing has to be so much bigger than the Minerva, for example.
Yeah.
Or White Base. Or it's huge. This thing's fucking huge, is what I'm saying. Because 12 high, that's 3 mobile suits, by the way, per each of those 3, per each transport. 12 high, 2 stacks across. I don't even remember how many deep. This thing is carrying enough. This thing is carrying more mobile suits than I think we saw in Mobile Suit Gundam.
Yeah.
Mobile Suit Gundam before they launch back into space to carry on the attack back to, because that's when we start seeing full-on battlefields. Certainly more mobile suits than we ever saw at Odessa.
Yeah. Probably as many, a significant. Well, we saw a lot in Jaburo, so around Jaburo size, forces.
No,
at least one
more than that. Literally, I'm telling you, just one row is more than we saw in Jaburo, because that's already 36 mobile suits. We did not see 36 mobile suits in Jaburo. I'm telling you, literally, this one ship is probably responsible for every mobile suit that we saw in Mobile Suit Gundam.
I mean, I'm sure there are more ships like this, basically.
Yeah, no, of course, across the entire world. I'm not saying, well, I am saying, because literally, if you do the math, on the I can take that screenshot. I think I already deleted it. I think I only took the screenshot so that I can zoom in and count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, how many pods high it went. But literally, I think it's probably, 12, so 24, 48 times 2, so 96. I think it's probably 96 pods, conservatively, from what I can remember off my memory. So, 96 times 3? 286? I don't know. Over 280 mobile suits. I don't think you could argue with me that 280 mobile suits is more mobile suits than we saw in the entire run of Mobile Suit Gundam.
Yeah.
You could even include literally the whole thing, like space battles and everything. more than we all saw.
We saw a lot in the space battles, like a lot. Also, there was a lot.
Actually, not really. We saw a lot of the general models in the space battles, but there was only like one or like on screen at a time, like maybe 3 Zaku's, because there was always them holding up on like Abaquo or Solomon. We barely saw any in space. I think we saw more in North America during the Garma stuff. But I'm just saying that literally this one carrier doing one drop in episode 2, I think we could probably get through a couple seasons of shows before we're going to see as many as this thing dropped in one go. That's how fucking big it is.
It's big.
This thing could get time displaced in some sort of, the final countdown situation and re-win the war for the Zeons. And it's supposed to be this old personal what do you mean personnel transport? How many personnel were you transporting before the war? Oh man, now I've got to move those 20 million people in one ship, I guess.
I don't think you can grab 20 million people in one
I think
ship.
the space that you could fit 280 Zaku's in, you could probably fit 20 million people.
I don't think so, especially with life support, requirements.
I think your argument is based in comfort and length of stay. I'm talking like we want to win the world record for how many people can fit in a taxi.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I'm thinking more towards again, Crest of the Stars. I think I mentioned it many times here. One of the threats that one of the admirals gives to the attacking human. Oh, I can't remember the name of the group. Human something.
Mhm.
Is that if you don't surrender, we're going to send you at sublight speed, all on one ship with no creature comforts. It'll take you thousands of years to get where you're going. It's basically, you're not going to survive this, and you're not going to be comfortable dying. Was the threat? We're going to put all of you into one transport ship with not enough resources, and we're going to send you on a 1,000-year journey to the next inhabitable planet.
Yeah.
If you don't surrender. The picture over Albert's shoulder is of the Great Degwin. I took a screenshot and zoomed in. The only words on the picture I could make out were Great Degwin and what looked like to be a date, but I couldn't make it out. Everything else was just too blurry. I couldn't do the Gundam Seed thing that I talked about before. I go try and make out the blurriness by tricking my eyes. The Hildoffer being dropped on Earth for testing with the intent to leave it on Earth uncollected as a permanent deployment, alongside Albert's claim that the invasion is just a swamp that infinitely eats supplies, is a real indication that just 4 months in the war had already gone south. As May says, the Hildoffer had already been tested and evaluated 2 years ago. This feels like the point where we've started taking the museum pieces and started deploying them to shore up the numbers. Propaganda is the only thing keeping the wheels on. I also appreciate the running theme of all these military positions that the mobile suit development has replaced, and what happens to those people who cannot adapt to the new skill sets.
Yeah, I mean, everything is the mobile suit is the weapon of choice, and everything else falls by the wayside.
Well, what's his name said in episode 1? I'm going to put a period on the end of Gunners.
Yeah.
I had joked about Sonnen being a druggie, mostly due to my anxiety about my upcoming fears about what my cancer meds will do to me. But I feel really dumb for not having seen that he is going through some real PTSD in those moments.
Yeah, that's why he's using the not drugs. He's using the mints.
Well, the mints are drugs.
To calm himself down. Yeah. Were they in fact drugs?
Yeah, of course they were drugs.
Mm.
How many mints calm you down like that? It sounds to me. You remember? Oh God, what was the movie where they're filming a movie in it's not Vietnam. It's like the comedy movie.
Thunder or something.
Tropic Thunder, yeah. The one actor there who's got a cocaine habit or whatever the fuck he's doing. He's I gotta find my candy. Candy got me down. That's what's going on here. It's sure they're mints.
Mm-hmm.
In the second episode, when Sunin started bombarding the Zaku's with APFDS rounds, whatever that means, it never occurred to me. Yeah, I know. As far as I get to armor piercing,
the guarding sable rounds. I think that's what it is.
That's not the right words. FDS.
AP.
APFDS.
Fin stable.
Everybody's ever played a first-person shooter knows what AP stands for.
Yeah. Armor piercing, fin stabilize round. I think it is. Yeah.
Well, of course, I wasn't really asking what it meant, but either way, because those were already covered with his high explosive rounds that turn into napalm. These things are kind of whatever you want them to be.
Yeah.
It never occurred to me till the second rewatch, but a lot of the shots he landed were in random spots on each Zaku. How come none of them went up in nuclear firebombs? We know why that didn't happen when Amuro did it, because he was aiming for cockpits and the like, places that wouldn't set off the reactor. Sonen is just going ham, hitting them wherever. Also, not for nothing, but I have no idea how Sonen failed at mobile suit pilot training. The Hildoffer is essentially half a mobile suit, and Sonen was badass in it. Which is that thing, it's the whole conceit about how Amuro's journey starts, is that Zaku gets hit and it goes fucking nuclear. And then we see Sonen just shooting randomly. Nothing blows up. The thing that confused me about the propaganda piece at the start of episode 3 was that it starts with the Zeon insignia, but the text is, "Congratulations, Earth Federation Space Forces." I know they're being sarcastic now, but while I was watching it, I was jumping to conclusions as I did. I saw the text at first, and I thought it was the EDF saying stuff about Zeon. So the rest of the time was me watching it, was trying to recontextualize it back to that frame.
Yeah, Zeon makes a boast against the EDF. The EDF then comes back and says, "Oh, yeah, we heard about that. Too bad that it falls apart." And, a little back and forth kind of thing.
Well, because also very confusing element here that I'm now remembering because we're talking is that I asked you, hey, is that Zeon poking fun at itself? Because, it's Zeonic attacking, was it Zimen?
Yeah, there's two companies, because that suit wasn't from Zeonic. It was...
yeah, well, I assessed that, and you're like, yeah, that's what's happening. That's not what's happening at all. That's the Earth Federation poking fun at Zeon. So it seems like you didn't understand what's going on either, or that, or just flippantly answered me. See. As a parting gift, look at this, Albert tells May, then shows video of what seems to be the Gundam crushing a mobile suit's camera view. The thing is, this is October, so that would only be the first 22 episodes of Mobile Suit Gundam. Amuro's killed quite a few Zeon soldiers and Zaku's, sure, but I'm not exactly sure whose point of view that would be to have any real importance. Even Zeon propaganda acknowledges that the EDF has mobile suits already, so it's not the presence of a mobile suit that has to be shocking. I guess maybe the Gundam itself is just that shocking, or that it's May's first time seeing it.
Well, I mean, Amuro, I think, already has a reputation by this time of being someone who has destroyed multiple facilities single-handedly as well, right?
This is... Well, I get.
Yeah, I think
no, because this is only just after. Well, this is literally the episode would be right around this one would be McQueeve's counter attack or McQueeve's trap. Sorry, McQueeve's trap. So the only base that Amuro would have destroyed is the one base in the middle of nowhere that Cassilia and McQueeve are at.
No, but remember, that was one of multiple bases that Amuro attacked. It wasn't just the first. In fact, remember, Amuro had gone off-road and he started attacking bases. And it was like, oh, you're ruining the situation because you're alerting.
No, this was the one. This was the one base he attacked because this is the one that alerted them and caused them. Every time I've ever said that they upped their R&D and stuff, this is that base.
No, but he also, I think it was after the thing with his mother, he also attacked another base and destroyed it.
That's not the same So that was just a random North American base that nothing came of that. Like, they don't even say like anything comes of this. They even say it's so unimportant. That was Bright's point. This is so unimportant, it's a waste of our resources.
True, but I think from a propaganda perspective, people are like, oh, son, this mobile suit shows up and then your entire base.
Also, arguably, there was no mobile suit there that he crushes with his hands to get the perspective that we're getting here. I mean, I could agree with you. Maybe that could have been the mining facility, because it would have been important because McQueen and Cassilia were there, but I don't remember any mobile suits getting crushed there either, because it was just the mobile armor.
Well, I think it's there is at least one sequence when he grabs like the mask.
Well, he does that in episode 1.
Yeah, so I think that might have been like,
I don't think
that's what you would see.
That would be a real time delayed. Hey, here in October, let me show you what happened back in December. I don't know. I guess things don't have to happen concurrently with one another.
Yeah, but the other way around.
Sorry. Well, there's an element. There's an element of timing that has only been guessed at so far, that I now have more of a spectrum of actual events, like what episodes happen when. Because remember, back at the Origin, we're like, well, this is at the beginning of the year, but Mobile Suit Gundam starts like in September, or several months after. So the confusion of Origin starting with White Base coming to Side 7, and then 7 months later starting Mobile Suit Gundam with White Base coming to Side 7. It's like, confusing stuff. You had originally called the third Zamud pilot an idiot for going so fast that he got himself killed. But I would argue that that's what he was meant to do. They are out here testing these machines the engineering supervisor believes work. He had no reason to think that the machines would crumble under him, especially if the fact that these are supposed to be upgraded versions of the EMS-04 Zumad, which we later find out they're not, actually, and are just the designation changes only. You know, if I took the Pinto outside that explodes every time you back up into somebody, and I called it the Pinto 2. Didn't change anything, I just called it the Pinto 2. Yeah, but in
that situation,
I'm not done yet, though. Hold on. This test showed that the unit had way too much power for its frame to be able to handle, which is valuable information to have before ever trying to mass-produce these things. He died testing it, which is unfortunate, but also what he was meant to be doing.
Yeah, but I think he went wrong. They were testing, right? And he's like, oh, I'm going to do this. And he just pushed it out. Everyone's like, what are you doing? And he just goes off, right? And then he loses control. He was outside of the test parameters when he did it. He's just like, I'm just going to do this. I'm like, you know, if you follow the test parameters. Now, he be running an actual test and that had happened, then it was like, okay, it's an accident. But he was literally, the leader was like, what are you doing? Everybody's like, what the hell are you doing? It's like, I'm going to go fast. And then when he goes fast, it goes like, oh shit, I can't control this. And then that's why he dies.
I think the change of what you're saying is his leader didn't ask him what he was doing. His leader told him to stop, but he couldn't stop. He was already after the point of no return. He was literally doing what he was supposed to do. His commander launched off by himself to head towards... By the way, they're attacking... Air quotes here. Attacking one of their own ships, because it's a test. Mm-hmm. So his commander launches off to test by going super fast. He's like, I can do that too. And he launches off to go super fast. The person who actually tells him to stop first is like the second in command guy who's in the third Zumad. So nobody says, what are you doing? Because it's assumed what you're doing. He's literally pushing the machine to its limits. It's just that actually, and this is not something I put in my note here, Jean-Luc knows that these are the actually EMS-04s and can't survive it, which is why he's telling him to stop after he gets past him. Because he knows this guy's about to die, because these things are not safe at all.
But
there's an element here that I have in future notes about what this whole thing is actually about, because that's why Jean-Luc gets pissed off every time somebody brings up to him the specs of the thing, because he knows what they're up to out here, but it's a big lie, because they're not EMS-10s. EMS-10s don't exist. These are just EMS-4s.
But I think the implication, was in that scene that, okay, the leader goes out and he's like, well, I can do that too. And he just launches instead of like waiting for his turn or whatever it was. And that's what he got him killed. Like, oh, I just want to do this the same way. It's like what happened in 79 was like, oh, we're going to recon. Well, I'm going to go forward and do this. Like, don't do it.
Again,
Boom.
I think the difference is that it doesn't make any difference what he did because he would have been doing it anyway because they're out here testing. The conceit you're saying is basically he didn't go second. My conceit is he would have died second. He would have done the same thing when he was supposed to do it. It's just he did it now, and we see both things happening at the same time. Because I guess it's a good show to show one guy going the set speed, to show that this guy is going so much faster. Because it's, again, the same thing that I brought up with the ship being not the size I thought it was. We only see the ship by itself. I didn't see it next to anything bigger or smaller to give it a comparison to. I believe the point of the captain talking about winning a war without fighting, and Jean-Luc saying the Zumad was to be a phantom fighter, was that they were going to put out a propaganda piece about their newest and best model, and fly it around in certain locations, as they did at Luna 2 at the start of the episode, to show that it actually exists. But otherwise never mass produce it. Make a ghost to strike fear in the enemy, as the best use of resources already invested in the project. That's why Jean-Luc gets so upset the 2 times someone reveals that they've figured out all the flaws in the design.
Like the Federation did when they apparently got the...
Well, it's back-to-back scenes. May is pointing out that I've gone through the specs. This is just the MSO for Zumad, and he's like so fucking angry. That's the scene where I make fun of it because he says, "Oh, jeez, movements," because he's so angry he didn't know what to do, and CGI doesn't know what to do either at this point. But and that's when they call to the bridge, and it's the Earth Defense Forces showing off. Oh, we've got a sleek in Zionic, because Zionic's competing with Zimad, I think it is, and so the Zionic doesn't give a shit. Saku's are better. We can put those other guys out of business, and we'll leak this to Earth Federation. Earth Federation will make fun, and Zimad will go out of business, or whatever happens to them. I don't know.
Yeah.
So that just gets him all pissed off, because it was his last hope. Like, I've spent all of my time on this thing, and this was the last best chance to make a boogeyman out of it, and y'all just done fucked it up. Alright, I want to apologize for something that I forgot to do in the moment. Jean-Luc, Duval's sacrifice there at the end. I always mock you for not saluting the dead Earth Force officers, except for the one that you did at the very end for some reason. Well, I mean, there was no Sieg Zeon scene, so... I mean, I respect what the guy was doing. It was really the Earth Force Federation guys that were idiots. See, what you were saying to the test guy, I'm saying to them, because they just zoomed into the future and killed themselves for no reason. They could have stopped. Well, the implication being that Cadillac was behind them, so everyone that slowed down was getting shot by Cadillac. But they could have slowed down and just taken on Cadillac all by themselves. They decided to push their units well past the breaking point. Alright. Ironically, my last note, but also the first one I wrote literally immediately after we ended our recording last time, so the least one I remember. I get the idea of consolidation of forces, especially in a retreat to defend the homeland. For me, it is a matter of resource expenditure as well as timing. We already know they didn't pull everything back to the Battle of Abaquo, as the Moon Forces get mentioned, as well as what remains back at Side 3 itself, implying not everything was moved as part of any last stand. The evacuation we saw in the 3rd episode was happening on November 10th, while the Battle of Solomon was a bit over a month later, and of course Operation Star 1 a week after that. The resources necessary to evacuate the majority of Zeon forces and material from Earth back to any stations remotely involved in the defense of Side 3, Solomon, or Abaquo would be enormous. Even more so if in that small amount of time, those are resources you are actively taking away from the defense effort. Personnel that could be better used elsewhere, ships that could be moving them. It's just a lot. In my mind, it would be less costly to create a consolidated Earth command for all remaining Earthbound Xeon forces to retreat to in order to establish a defendable position to protect them from Earth Federation assault until matters in space were resolved. We know the Federation's position was as tenuous as Xeon's, so it's unlikely that they would be able to field the resources to crack a Xeon entrenchment without incurring an equivalent loss from whatever they decided to pull troops from. If morale loss was as perceived abandonment is an issue, it would be far less costly to send in flyby resource drops to said Xeon holdfast than the prolonged evacuation effort.
And what I said to that was that the Federation would not have to necessarily attack them. You just needed to keep them encircled and move. It's it's like, oh, we're gonna get these forces to encircle these guys and keep them trapped there. And whatever attempts they make to resupply, we shoot down, etc., and wear them down, and put our main effort at trying to take IGLOO and Solomon, right? And once those are taken down, well, this force is isolated on Earth, and they're doomed.
I think the debate then is that we're not debating anything.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're saying a different end result than what I'm saying, but I don't think you're actively debating my point that the resource expenditure on the evacuation is costlier than the benefit.
I mean, what I'm arguing is that you don't gain anything really by keeping them on Earth.
Half of my argument is that you lose too much by evacuating them from Earth. You don't just get 100% of what you take. You also have to, and plus you invest material that is going to be lost in trying to take them back. So there is a large percentage of stuff that could be used better in your already planned defense than the stuff that you're going to lose trying to evacuate people. I'm saying, because I think you're indicating towards my holdfast idea that the holdfast would be counterattacking Earth somewhere, and I'm saying no, they're just trying to defend themselves as they're trapped on Earth as a Xeon-held territory. And I'm saying that if the Earth Federation, you're saying the Earth Federation would just ignore them and just try and keep them isolated. And my point is, well, they're just trying to keep themselves isolated anyway, so that's a win-win in my book. But if the Earth Federation did try to attack them, that's somewhere else that the Earth Federation, who's already as tenuously spread out as Xeon is itself, would be losing ground in that Xeon would then make a gain in. I think we're so far spread by the end of the war that nobody can sacrifice anything to try and attack anywhere else but where they're going. That's why I'm saying any loss of resources or effort is a loss, no matter what. If you're going to lose ships trying to pick people up from Earth, those are ships that could have been at the final battle.
Yeah.
What you're gaining, I don't think, is making up for it, especially since we see that the Zaku's that they're gaining aren't good for space. That was the whole thing. Oh, those are Zaku's 6Js or whatever they said. They're only made for ground combat. Cool, they're going to do great at Solomon. Hope IGLOO has enough hallways.
I mean, the crews are also important if they have combat experience, although they would have to be retrained in order to fight in space as well.
Cool, 1 month. As I already mentioned in my time frame here, they have 1 month to be retrained.
Yeah.
Hope none of them are gunners or tank crew, which would have been perfectly fine, by the way, if you were on the ground. Tank crews, still operative.
That is, that's my final note.
That is my final note.
Okay, then.
Anything else you wanted to add before we get into this? All right, let's go ahead and hop on in.
But before we get started,
Make sure that you hit the like button.
Hit that subscribe button.
Comment down below to feed that algorithm.
on top of all that, if you want to watch more shows like this,
Unfiltered.
Uncensored.
And uncut.
as well as some early access stuff,
You can check it out over on the Patreon.
It's just $5 a month, but hey, no pressure.
There's zero pressure in order to do that. It's just a little bit of extra support, and it would be greatly appreciated.
Cadillac?
Maybe. It sounds weird though. The breathing sounds weird.
Yeah, but I can't help but notice the expressed chest of the spacesuit.
Yeah.
Like, so much for the Jotunheim, I guess.
I think that's
It's the same shape. It could
Maybe
be a
more than
different
one ship.
transport, sure.
yeah.
And to be fair, I don't know if this still follows the same people. It's the fact is
Yeah.
that there was a next time on the last
Mhm.
one, implying that this
Yeah.
is follow-up.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. And the next time on was was it something from the skies of Jaburo. I saw the sea. I
Yeah.
think it was. So it usually doesn't
What
come
was
to me
it,
that
Igloo?
quickly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This time, James Bond
Mhm.
has to go to the moon. No, it's not Moonraker. It's not what you're thinking.
Yeah.
It's a different moon. It's Moon 2. We call it Luna. Luna 2.
Interesting because in that movie, James Bond goes to space but never reaches the moon. So no moon gets raped.
Does he
I
not?
guess.
Wasn't it on the space base?
It was a space station on an orbit around Earth, but it wasn't
Yeah.
the moon.
Never actually seen Moonraker.
It's an okay movie, even for a James Bond movie. It's fine. Not the best, not the worst.
I saw
you
like
know.
GoldenEye and then one other before Daniel Craig took over.
Yeah. I seen all the James Bond movies except like the last 2 or 3 from
I was
recent ones.
100%. I was correct.
And this guy said Jaburo, I saw the sea, yeah.
Literally, word for word. I did not miss a word. I could have only been more correct if I said comma. Oh, please let one of these characters be the guy who killed those guys in the pillbox. Oh, look, the one. We're the 603. That's how the 604 died.
Yeah.
Sorry, of course, because yes, all Xeon people know each other.
I could be boning my boss, but I'm stuck with these guys.
Oh, we are getting closer.
Ah, it's an underwater unit.
That's what I mocked last time. I have no interest in the underwater shit. I can't wait till we reach one part of the show. It's just all the underwater operation stuff. I mean, not this show. I mean, like a whole show dedicated. This is the stories of the underwater submarine crew.
再突入能力を有し、各種兵装に換装可能な大型コンテナ。それを牽化し制御するゼ国からなります。全長73メートル。ゼ国は作戦終了後、地上にて。
Isn't this how Flanagan died? Oh, great. We brought a Scottish captain with us.
Yeah. A commentary on the kamikaze, I guess. Oh, it's disposable.
せめてものことは貴様が船で死ねたことだな。名乗りとしては全うした人生だったじゃないか。
I was confused seeing
That's
him in a
actually kinda
spacesuit. It's the first time we've seen him off the bridge.
Yeah, this is where things start getting weird.
See, for a second there, I was thinking when I was talking about the spacesuit before, where I said the exaggerated chest. So I thought that might have been Cadillac as a woman. And I was like, oh, well, maybe it was a former love interest. And it's like, no, wait, he said best man. So, like, I'm just 100% wrong.
Guile called. And now he's in the nearest century.
艦長はどこなんだよ。
貴様、戦果ゼロの分際で。
はい。艦長には後でよく言っておきます。ん？それは？
What, this thing I was clearly exposing you? So you would ask questions about it?
じいさんはこんな森一丁でサメと戦った。
Your grandpa was from Earth, I guess.
サメだけが浮いてきた。亡くなったのか？
Yeah, the shirt was the one that came up.
まだ潜り続けていることになっている。
Well, to be fair, that other guy's been annoying the entire show. He's the one that keeps begging to get a Zaku for himself.
えらく息の長いじいさんだな。で、艦長は？
艦長はどこなのよ。
I don't like this guy. Only because I like her more. So the fact he's pissing her off is just pissing me off.
But she's being a little petulant too. It's like,
she's always petulant.
Yeah, where's the captain?
Because he's being insubordinate.
Yeah.
If this is 40k, that guy would have just been shot. This would have been over already.
Yeah. I think I did mention something because I said it was a spoiler back in 79 because I saw the scene of how the Air Force was getting space superiority later on in the you know.
There's been
like,
any number of spoilers that I've been trying to make you avoid saying.
Yeah.
Like the element that Xeon forces abandoned Earth. Never got shown in the show anywhere, and you hailed it as like fact the entire time.
Well, now we saw it last.
Yeah, but this would have been the time to bring it up. I mean, well, that last episode. Great. Another drug or crazy guy. So I may have missed it, but is this
Jaburo?
No, I know it's Of course, it's part of the name of the episode. You thought that's the part I missed?
So what part you missed?
The date. Is this after the assault by Char with the North American forces?
Yeah, I think so.
Luke, turn off your flight computer. Use your new type shit, Luke.
Oops. Miss.
Maybe you should have used that targeting computer.
Yeah.
No, I was thinking that this is possibly the new fleet launching from Jaburo after the Char's assault to head to Luna 2 for the attack on Solomon. But this is just one ship, so it can't be that.
ミサイルの自爆信号を確認しました。
だいたい海もないのに海兵などというのがおかしいのだ。
Well, there's also the element that you launched him, right? So shouldn't you still be up in space with this other spaceships going?
I think they are in space. It's just that they recover him and send him back again.
No, I meant that. Shouldn't the worry be that that obvious warship is now approaching where you're at?
意味でしょう。これ以上音声記録を聞くのは作戦失敗の原因は明白です。
しかしシステムもまだ完全とは言えず、少尉の
言えず。
では次の攻撃は税国に
Again, just as a reminder, she's just a propaganda officer,
Yeah.
and he is the technical commander of the operation. Well,
But
he's
she
the
has the
lieutenant
superior
commander
ranks.
of the operation, but I mean, commander is in charge of.
その言葉はいささか不適切かと。
で、誰を乗せるの？
Although she's actually egg commander, and he's just a lieutenant commander, and you know what I'm saying. He's just annoying.
Yeah.
I legitimately have no idea what he's doing here, other than he came with her.
And he just got voluntold that he's got to go.
Again, I don't know what his job is, what he's trained for. He seems like he is the petulant kid.
Yeah.
I have never wished for a Xeon operation to fail harder. Well, now I got a rank for him. I don't think I had that on the board before.
Yeah.
Also, how shit is our tech? Wouldn't it be easier just to fire a guided missile than fire a
particles.
ship? Oh, right, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of shit that makes that hard.
Now they're both laughing.
You'd figure you'd have a lot more wire-guided rocketry then.
We did see wire-guided missiles in the first episode of Gundam. The one that actually killed the pilot.
Those failed pretty hard, didn't they?
Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, touche. You defeated me.
Yeah. Well, technically, the missile defeated itself because it killed the guy that was using them. Yeah, who was going to pilot the Gundam.
No, they didn't defeat the people piloting him. It defeated the rest of the defense forces.
Yeah.
So you're a Marine because the sea is the sky. Okay, I'll
that's
tell.
what they're saying. That basically they put him in there because
maybe it is.
They don't have.
Maybe they are
else.
launching towards Luna too.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I think this is going to fail.
Yeah, they're not the only ones who can shoot too. They got Sam.
Well, as we know, a whole fleet is supposed to be launching from this place, so...
Yeah. Yeah.
And also, I guess it just goes to show you how little damage Char did to this place.
Yeah. Of course they knew. You already attacked them once, you know. Maybe they didn't see their ship because of Minovsky particles. They have windows that can see the explosions of the missiles, you know.
It's pretty cool, though. I'll give you that.
They missed.
Oh, man, you know what probably worked really well right here? A giant cannon saved like 300 kilometers away.
Yeah. Well, actually, yeah, it would.
I know, right? It's a joke, but it's like, yeah.
You put it in orbit as they're coming up, you know.
This thing could be this thing could be feeding them the tactical information about where to target and everything.
Yeah. I mean, clearly this is something that's being coupled up together just to do something. You know,
although you'd literally have to put it about the height above the Earth that the International Space Station is, as per my previous note.
Yeah.
Shoot them as they launch from the Earth.
And would need quite a bit of protection because we saw Salama's cruiser destroy the other ships, so, you know.
Plus quite a bit of ammunition since it only holds 6 shots.
Mm-hmm.
了解です。タイも
私か館長から頼まれた調べ物が少しあってな。なんなら後で一
I was literally just thinking, is there going to be a romance between these two? I mean, they are
Yeah.
spending months together in a closed space. Although I guess maybe they're not. He keeps going back to Albert to report, so
Yeah.
clearly he's getting
Yeah.
off of the ship at some point.
海兵は見なかったぞ。
Then she's literally part of the press group that surrounds Girin, so she might just be an infatuated groupie too.
Yeah.
I like that one of the cameras was literally looking at his own back.
コックピットの中。少尉、そんなところに。
Hope you
And
haven't
for a
had enough of
second, it
my
looked like
armpits
its
yet.
head, like no, it looked like its head had been blown off and it's just blood, and it's just like it's the pattern of the cap.
No, I didn't think that. My first thought was Resident Evil or Dino Crisis or...
Yeah, yeah.
これはもう実用試験の域を超えているよ。それに連邦軍の迎撃態勢も日増しに強化されている。明日我々は袋叩きに遭うかもしれない。
Nah, I'd put it like, I don't know, 27, 29 more days on this.
が持ち込まれるが、データを取ってもこの状況下では後に生かす術もないじゃないか。戦場は確実に宇宙に移りつつある。我々は地球周辺中域にこだわり、引きこもっているわけにはいかないんだ。キャデラック大尉の焦る気持ちも僕は理解できているつもりさ。明日僕は本部に作戦の中止を愚信するつもりだ。言いたかったのはこれだけだ。
I mean, I feel like this guy's gonna find a way to get himself killed. You know, given the theme that these are all people who won't have a place in the world anymore.
Yeah.
今ここが風向きの悪い最前線ってだけだ。じいさんはさ、こう言ったんだ。
Help me, I'm being eaten by a shark.
獲物を取ろうとするな。海がその気にならない限り獲物はない。だから海に潜る。何度でも何度でもってな。技術屋さんは違うのか。一度や二度不都合があったからって状況が逆風だからって。いや、ゼーゴックはいい機体だぜ。水中用モビルスーツのパワーは桁外れだからな。わかるかい？俺の海が。
I mean, we know it's the frame most likely to be able to take a shot.
Pressure. Yeah.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, I just mean the fact that we saw it attack on land on the Char Returns episodes, and it took shots and kept moving, whereas Aku's just got destroyed. I love a good klaxon. Only thing that makes it better is a good speech to go with it.
Yeah.
Like, closed 3-ring circus. Oh, please put your second in command on that ship. That annoying kid.
Also, I know they're trying different tactics to see what would work.
Yeah, like this is testing. Now, granted, this is like the only time this thing is ever going to be deployed to begin with, but we're still testing.
Yomareta na.
Oh, so they deployed it. Because remember, they got left the Zetas that they had.
Yeah.
次はミサイル。俺を投下しろ。どんな投下だって構いやしない。これが最後のチャンスだ。
投下して
艦長、艦全体を危険にさらすのですか。あなたら
誰が好き好んでルデルもそうだったはずだ。私のなすべきことを
I feel like he's in the same boat, possibly Rudell as well, as my favorite guy from the Luna 2 episodes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
殺し方始めエントリー
Yadim, couldn't remember his name for a second. The guy that you hated, called Dumb. One of my favorite
Yeah.
guys. I think it's a shame that we don't have like AI controlled missiles or anything. You know, put a camera in it, have the AI control the trajectory as it goes. For a second there, I thought he was gonna go off playing and like Doctor Strangelove it. There's one really dumb part of this that I'm going to point out later that occurred to me.
Okay.
You're probably going to have an argument against it, but I guess if you live in space, the gravity well is really like an ocean.
Yeah.
It crushes you, pulls you down.
The score hit. 2 hits. 3 hits. Make that 4. And there goes the battleship.
And of course the real sadness is that we know this makes no real effect to the end of the war. Yeah, it did seem pretty weird that we could get a what's it called? Gox?
Yeah.
We could get a Gok flying over Jaburo unfazed?
Yeah.
Oh, come on. That thing is way more heavily armored than that.
Yeah, but they hit the
Gundam shot at it with its Vulcans and it didn't get damaged at all. These are just normal-ass jets. Well, Sonnen was able to take out some shit out just before he died in your same position. I expect you to be able to do the same.
I mean, he took out 5 warships, though.
No, I'm talking about after he was about to die.
Oh.
Sonnen took like a shot to the face and then took out the guy who killed him. I expect this guy to pop back up with one like rocket blast. No, not as cool as Sonnen? Okay. Well, I wasn't like 100% in on his like personal story either, whereas Sonen I
Yeah,
felt for. So
マゼラン級1サラミス級4の撃沈を確認
I mean, they didn't develop him much except for the fact that he said that his grandfather was a fisherman, right?
異常だ
well, shark hunter. I don't know what his grandfather was other than he hunted a shark once.
Yeah.
I guess his grandfather was Ahab. That was a whale. I don't know what I'm thinking.
ご依頼の件ですが、少尉のおじい様は海で亡くなってはおりませんでした。サイド3の病院のベッドで。
Well, that's interesting.
彼にとっておじいさんは海で死んだ。それでいいじゃないですか。
Yeah, that's the story he told himself, right?
心の
To make himself a hero.
Well, what about the part where he said his whole family says this about his grandfather?
Yeah.
海は見えたか、海兵。
Well, I mean, we know he did.
Hmm.
Up close and personal.
技術試験報告書。今回の試験運用において、モビルダイバーおよびそれをコントロールせるゼーゴックは、ジャブローに対し3度の突入を実施せり。しかれども、転用ないし急増兵器なるがため、我が603は多くの技術的課題を露呈する。
Yeah, I mean, really, ultimately, what were we testing
それら
here?
はひとえに高度な操縦技術を要求されるパイロットの奮闘に一任されたり、その点においてはベルナー・ホルバイン少尉は得意な才能を発揮、よく任務を全うせり。押村区は戦場が空へと移行しつつある状況下にあって、
I mean, conceivably, the Earth Federation could have rescued him, right?
意義についてご再
Also, did he just like buy a harpoon tip at like a gift shop?
突入したまま変えられ、
Apparently.
少尉のために。
And no, it's not like what's her name? Because remember, he was like dying in the cockpit already.
Yeah.
Obviously, this entire series is going to end with that flapping Xeon flag on fire by the end.
Yeah. Apocalypse.
Well, I don't
It's
even mean
also
that. I just
Revelation.
mean the fact that Xeon doesn't win.
Hmm.
MP02A 駆逐モビルポッドを
はい。エルビン・キャデラック総長であります。
Oh, brother time.
試験体観測を開始。観測ボット全機展開。
機動戦士ガンダム MS イグルー目視録0079第2話攻防の峠を越えろ
So there's 3 ways I see this going. One, that that's the brother, and that the brother is a recruit, and the family is diehard, and she's about to become disenfranchised with the entire fight with the death of her brother.
Hmm.
2, we find out that Monique Cadillac is actually Erwin Cadillac, and she's a trans person, and this is Japan's really pushing the envelope here, considering the fact they weren't even willing to let 2 women get married, in which from Mercury. Sorry, I can't remember what the third thing is. I had 3 ideas in my head. Sorry, the argument that I was going to make, the stupid point to bring up, because sorry. Something else that I was going to say is they really missed the opportunity here. They could have called these missions instead of episodes, because everyone is a separate mission, right? So this could have been mission 2, mission 1. Yeah. I don't know what the fuck we were testing in this episode, because this is so niche.
Not really.
Whatever we're gonna do. Well, this is, because that's their whole point. The 603 is a test unit. Maze reports at the end of the episode on the thing that we tested this episode. They had
remember
to
when he
test.
said this is a improvised weapon. Essentially, this is Theon throwing anything that sticks to try to slow down or stop the Federation, from attacking them, right? Because they're now in defensive. It's just like, what do we do? Oh, we got these suits that we can't use anymore because they're underwater suits. Let's put some rockets on them and something, and see what, and try to do something.
Right.
Yeah.
See, if the goal
So
was
it
to
is-
accomplish a task, that's why I'm calling it dumb. Because remember that we
Mhm.
still have two. I think we have two. No, I think we only have one. Zoomad on board.
Mhm.
A flight operable mobile suit. The mobile suits can take these things out like nothing. We don't have to fly in and target rock. Things fly up sideways or underneath it where it has no weaponry. Boom, boom. Shoot it in its engines the same way Char does at the Battle of Loom. These things would be blown out of the sky so easy by the Zoomad. So if the effect is we just want to do this, well, also the Zoomad is so fast. Granted, we get rid of the fact that you have to keep track of its meter to make sure it's not about to blow itself up. That it has no problem getting out of the range of just missile fire, indirect missile fire. I'm just saying that versus, well, what if we drop a thing on a rock and the rock throws other rocks? Like,
I think that the idea was that they're attacking the ships when they're most vulnerable.
what's I'm saying?
Right.
No, I'm not saying when they reach orbit. I'm saying literally the Zoomad is flight capable.
Is it? No, it's space capable. I don't think it's ever been in atmosphere.
I don't know if it's ever been in atmosphere, but it does have a giant rocket on its back and multiple positioning rockets. I think it's capable of flight in an atmosphere. Granted, that might push it to the part where it's going to blow up, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying that would be so much more effective than what the fuck we're doing here. The only reason I feel like we're doing this here is, again, the conceit that everything we do in the show is a test of something.
Yeah.
I think this is pushing the limits of what's a test, because it seems like you're only doing this to blow up ships as they come up, because after they launch, after this, to go to Luna 2, this ain't happening anymore. So we're
Yeah,
not
because they have
testing
all
a
the-
system that's going to have any future use or application.
Yeah. Or they got handed to the testing unit because they're the only unit that is free to do it, right? It's like,
I mean,
we
this
got
is-
everybody else doing it.
This is pushing the limits of what testing. This is like redneck testing, right? It's like, I'm going to
Yeah.
tie our couch to the back of the 4x4 and see if I can't pull
Mhm.
you around. Oh, destroyed the couch and you're in the hospital. Test and finished. It's like, no, you weren't doing that for something we're going to do ever again. That was the one and done. That's what this is. Everything we drop.
Yeah,
It's
but
gone.
I think it shows the desperation in which Sion finds itself.
No,
which is already
I get that.
deceptive.
I mean, I get that. It's like we've
Yeah.
got to do something, but I wish they would couch it in that, right? Because if that was like
Rather
the
than-
entire point, like we've got to do something, so let's try and make something. Like if they were like, what do we have on hand? And it was like the technical department MacGyvering a solution, right? What do we got? Well, I got a GOC, I've got this rocket pack, and a portable rocket delivery system. Well, maybe if we attach this, and then we do this, and I've got this program that can calculate rocket launch vectors, and I can put that to this targeting program. Like, do that. If there was like a Xeon MacGyver, I would be like on that. Especially right now, where it's like end of the war. What do we got? But no, this is just, well, today we're going to be testing. It's like, why? Why? I mean, I know why. Why is the only answer I have. The rest of it's like, what? What are we doing? I legitimately think we could drop rocks on them, and it would work better. Rocks from God, guys? Anybody?
Which Sion has a lot of, because they already strapped on a lot of rocks with engines and used them as missiles. So
Yeah, I mean, literally, we've seen it. It would work. Because there's a point where we know where they're launching from. Like, we might not know beforehand where they're launching from. But the moment they start launching, it's like, well, there's got to be a calculation, which is what is the best course for atmospheric exit. Like, what path, if you're launching from this location, takes you into orbit with the least amount of resources expended for the size of a ship that you are. And assumedly Xeon has enough information on like Salamis class cruisers to say they weigh this much, they have this much atmospheric displacement, whatever, that you can just make those calculations and say, okay, we should probably be able to intercept them at this location, which it seems like they did in the readout of where, because you see the ship thing, okay, we're going to drop you here, and you're going to do like this weird twisty motion, and you're going to intercept them here. So they kind of had that information.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe like drop a rocket or fire a rocket into that path and just make it a high enough yield that the explosion didn't. You played Missile Command, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, just make the explosion big enough that it's going to fly into the explosion. Shrapnel the shit out of that bridge. Literally, if you've caused enough hull damage, they're not going to want to go to space because they're not going to be able to survive. You know, the international symbol for ship flying in space. I don't know what the hell I'm doing with my hands sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, I do like the desperate nature of this, though. It really colors the whole situation. But at the same time, yeah, it could have been framing. Yeah, the weaknesses of framing. But I guess they wanted to use the same units and all that. So,
as I indicated before, I appreciate those elements. I just think this is the first time that it's come to a head, the framing device of the show and the time period that it's being set in. Because the time period is a strength most of the time, because we're showing off. Again, this is the super weapons of World War II, but it's Xeon now. And in this case, we're not showing off a failed super weapon, and we're not showing off a failed person, because there was nothing with this guy. Like, he's not like Sonin, a tank commander who couldn't make it as a mobile suit operator, or the gunner of the Jorgemon, who's like, this is past the age of the gunners. This is just a guy.
Yeah, but I think when it kept insisting he was a Marine, I think it's like, a Marine in space is useless because we no longer fighting,
you know. One, not true. Also, I think he was a Marine. I don't think he was insisting he was a Marine. I think he was a Marine. I think the only lie was about his grandfather. But, you know, even Star Trek has Marines. Enterprise, anyway.
Yeah,
Enterprise had Marines. I don't know if the rest of Star Trek has Marines, because it's just the same operations. Ship boarding and whatnot.
A Marine. No, but I think in operations of like land base or planet side seaborne operations, that's the kind of Marine that he was. He wasn't a security officer aboard a ship. He was the kind of guy.
That's his own fucking fault. I mean, I got no sympathy for the guy. Literally, if you're from, literally, we know his grandpa was from Munzo, which must imply the rest of his family's from Munzo. This guy then trained in seaborne operations for the attack on Earth, and then, like, I'm just saying, he chose a specialty that was so niche that when he sees the end of the war coming, what are you gonna do, man? This is what you chose.
I mean, yeah, but like being a gunner, you chose to be a gunner. Or
yeah, but again, we still have ships with guns on them. I feel like the end of the age of the gunners was just hyperbole by that guy who just wanted more because of he got the opportunity to fire like the biggest gun in history, and then he was like, "Guess we're not using these anymore." Well, fuck me. He still could have gone on to any of the Musais or anything and had a job. The tank guy, little less so, but I could still see like if you're good at operating a tank, you could still probably be a gunner. I mean, maybe not, like, you know, there's a lot of artillery weapons out there that could still use the same operations of a tank cannon, tank gunnery sergeant or whatever. So that guy could still have had a job, but not for nothing. Sonin was so good at the half mobile suit tank that I do not understand how he did not pass mobile suit training. Like, maybe it was the cocaine that he was using pushed him for a little bit further. I mean, it seemed like, because he took a bunch of it and then became awesome.
Yeah.
Which I don't know what the message we're throwing out there is, but Scarface, Sonin, they're both pretty good on cocaine.
Yeah. Until they die.
Well, actually, there is the Scarface video game, which implies that he did not die at the end of the movie Scarface. But yeah, no, I'm just saying, this is the first failure, I feel like, of IGLOO, and granted, I could be wrong. We could come back for the notes on Gravity Well, and I could have seen this in an entirely different light in retrospect, so... Anyway, anything else you want to throw out there?
No, I don't see it as a failure. I see a little weakness there, but I don't see so much that I would consider this episode a failure. I still like the episode.
I don't say I dislike it. I just don't see the point of it, right? I'm calling it a failure because the show has so much working for it. Like, the only thing I could say that the show doesn't have working for it is people's conception about CGI. The characters, the timeline, the setup for what these people are doing, it all is 100% working in its favor. So, making an episode where a couple of the things work against each other, like gears grinding against one another, I feel is the failure.
Yeah, that's what I had to say.
All right, well, once again, I have been Theta. This has been Lessons. We've been Stoneface Reactions, and we will catch you next time. Bye-bye.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching another Stoneface Reactions. If you have an idea of another video we could go ahead and watch, go ahead and put it in the comments down below and we'll add it to the wheel. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let us know what you thought about this video, what parts you liked. And until then, we'll see you next time. Is this too goofy?